Okay, in last class we saw how to represent a polynomial using linked list. Okay, now those are the coefficients and we have not given the power, but the power is being calculated here is itself. I not calculated, but internally it has been managed. Now if I give the first coefficient as negative, yeah, it is also coming correctly. Now if some index coefficient is 0, in that case what's happening, this term is coming with 0x, but in fact the whole thing should not be present there. So how we can manage that? The data will be stored like that, only it will be changed during the printing. During print, what we can do, data is less than 0 this, else not equal to 1 this. What if uh, the data equal to 0 itself, less than 0 this one, and else this one. Power. Okay, so in case, suppose in case the power sorry, the data is itself 0, if the data itself is equal to 0, so in that case what should we do? We should not do anything. In fact, we should break the loop. We should break the loop and uh, just, I think it's just break. Let me test it. No, if we break the loop, it will actually, instead of break, we should continue it. Actually, continue means the loop will continue, but that particular uh, no, something it is wrong. So let me check what is happening. When I am reaching at this stage, is coming here and power become 1 and the data is still 0. No, what we have not done, we have not done this temp equal to temp next. That we have not done. That is the problem. That's why it has not moved to the next linked list, next node actually. So that is the problem. So in case we want to continue without typing anything, then we have to do this here as well. Let me try that. Yeah, it seems it is working, right? Because I have to do this at this stage and immediately continue without doing any of the remaining stuff. Seems it is working, right? And for example, the last term is also, for example, the last term itself is 0. In that case, what will happen? Obviously, there will be no last term in that case. There is no last term. A different kind of combination you can do. So suppose in case you want to add another uh, just node and say here 9, whatever, it means automatically the first power is will be 4 and the series continues. So it counts how many nodes are there. Based on that, it decides the first power. Now what if the first power is itself 0? In that case, what will happen? If the first power is 0, then minus 4 to the power 3, 2, 0, 9.
7x square and 0 and 9.
So it is correct, right?
Correct, correct.
Correct. So this handles correctly. Okay. Now you guys remember that during our Saptami whatever hackathon, we told to store the points of a polyline, store the points of a polyline as a linked list. Can we modify this linked list just to support that? Is it possible? I have to check that. So for doing that, what I will do, uh, I will just modify this one. So I will create a new 0707 polyline as linked list, and I will copy the whole thing from here and paste it here. And here the main I will rename as 06, so that is does not affect. Now if I build, there might be a problem because there will be two uh, anyway. So if I run it, okay, instead of naming it's a linked list, I can itself name it as just polyline, for example. Okay. And instead of node, I can rename it as point. Just trying, I'm not sure. Okay, if I do that, what will happen? Everything is correct so far. Now instead of data, I can say it's x, and it has two data, x and y. For example, it's a 2D point. It's a 2D point. You can make it a double or whatever. It is your choice. So feel, for now just make it point, and it's a 2D point. Okay. Now if I do that, what will happen? Obviously there is a problem, and the problem, where is the problem? Yes, the data. Hmm. So those this logic was just for polynomial purpose. So I don't need this function because I want to represent the data. Uh, so obviously I don't need these functions because polynomial is not required for me at this stage. Where is the error? Yeah. Instead of append, I will say add. Just add point or whatever. Add point or insert point. Just add will be enough for this. So, yeah, point. Hmm. Forward display. Display I will discuss later. Display is not my problem at this stage. First I want to store the data, then I will display. Display is not my primary goal. My primary goal is to store the data correctly. Okay. What it is doing, the function is get value. Get value is also not my problem because I want to focus on storing, not getting. Be specific what you want to do. You want to store the data first. Once the data is stored, you can actually modify the other functions. Storing is more important. Yeah. So again, this is backward display. So display is not required. Now to store, I only have to modify the one thing, and that is this one. Now instead of that, I can just take two coordinates, right? Now if I can do that, I can simply say x equal to x. That's it. If I can do that, I can do y equal to y also. Simple. So if I can do that, what will be the problem? Next problem. Yeah.
Modify the y.
Yeah. So this one. So insert at tell. Okay, we are not. We are. Yes.
There is no member, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
y.
I got it. So create node. Create node needs x and y. I need to do. So insert node needs two values, X and Y, right?
X
Simply.
and Y. Right.
Instead of create node, we should name it as create point or simply add point. Make it more meaningful, specific to the particular scenario. Where are the errors? Value. Obviously, it will be simply X and Y.
X and Y.
Add.
There is also X and Y.
Yeah. So we implement it in the reverse way.
Yeah.
You just see the problem and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Insert at head. Not a big deal. You don't have to fear. You just have to understand where what needs to be changed. So storing data is most important. Once the data is stored, then you go for display and whatever you want to do. If you can do it for 2D, you can easily add the third parameter as Z. I'm
Yes.
doing it blindly like a robot because I know what I have to change. Now I need X and Y. Do I have X and Y? I don't have X and Y, but I have this X and Y itself. Still, I have a problem. Uh, Actually, those values inserted to index, those may not be required at this stage. Okay, now I have only these things that I have to actually store. Right now, this thing we can easily store. What coordinates we want to store? Simple, right? I want to store 10, 20. 10, 20. So if your data, if your implementation is correct, then whatever data you want to store, you can easily store the data. Not a problem. Now those data you can either pick it from a mouse or you can enter, right? You can take it as a string, as a from a command prompt or whatever. But once you get the data, you can enter it. That is not a big deal. That does not matter. Anything you can type. Now your data is stored. Polynomial has those points. Uh, now comes display, or say draw. Instead of polynomial, we'll say polyline. This is a polyline object. And finally, suppose we want to draw it. But here we cannot draw physically because in console we cannot draw that way. But we will just print it for now. But the method name we can keep it as draw, and we can just say draw public draw. During draw, what we'll do, we'll actually call this function itself, public void draw, and not display polynomial. We'll simply where are those functions? Backward, get value. I need the forward function, display polynomial. Forward display. Why it is saying it's a colon? Why like that?
Public void होगा.
It is already public, right? That's why it is a C++, not C sharp. Okay. Yeah. So simply we can write percentage D. That's it, right?
X and Y. Timber why.
That's it. So if I just run it, oh my god, percentage something, some percentage. So if we can, as you see, we can store the data, we can store the data and then finally print it, right? Using linked list. Same program that we had already, I just modified that, and I was not prepared for that. It means I was not did some exercise beforehand. The way I did, probably I did a faster way. Probably you will be thinking that how can we do that? Simply just understand which functions are necessary for polyline, which are not. For example, displaying a linked list as polynomial is not required for a polyline. We are focused on, previously we have only single data, and now we have two variable x and y that will store it. Now this is how we actually store the coordinates. Now those coordinates, either you can take user input, you can take it in a loop and then enter into inside that. That probably we can do it if you want, but today our target is how to store the data. How are you taking inputs? That is a different topic, right? Now for example, do one thing. Let me try to run a loop here very quickly. File. I think I already have a loop. I already have a loop that I teach during the C basic class, but just let me check. Reload the project. Reload the project, and I have a command loop here. And how this command loop is working, then I will connect two of this program together so that I don't have to rewrite it again. I have to make it start up, and I have to run this command loop. If I am to run the command loop, I have to just okay. If I run it, if I have command give L, it is saying line. If I see circle, something like just a single character, it is taking like that. And if I give Q, it is quitting. It means I've already implemented a command loop, and inside this command loop, it is like that. Now there is a uh, something called polyline. If I give, it goes for polyline, right? It goes for polyline. Now what I will do, I can either I can move this polyline class function CPP file here, or I can copy this one to that. So, or I can create another project where I will copy both of them so that it does not conflict with each other. So today probably we are not going to start the circular linked list if we don't get time, but I will complete this so that we have a complete idea how a polyline, say, just create a new project, C++, and name it CAD 2D, just a CAD 2D kind of name I give, right? And inside that CAD 2D, I can add a whatever entry point or main method. Here we have. Now what we want to copy here? First we want to copy this thing, this command loop one. This whole code I want to copy inside this entry point, and it should be able to run it. First of all, let me make it a startup, and we should be able to run it. It is working like that. Okay. And another file I have to copy, and that is from the advanced batch, uh, this one, linked list. This whole thing I need, right? And what I will do, I will just go to the folder and copy this file, and I will paste inside the folder here. Then I have to modify that. I will do paste it here. Now if I paste it, I need the copy. I can just rename this. I don't need all this stuff. Polyline, not at linked list, simple polyline is enough for me. Okay. I don't need those advanced batch as loaded right now. The basic batch I can unload too. So I have to add the existing project, right? I have to add existing project, existing, not project, existing file, the polyline I have to add. And the problem is polyline also has a main method. The polyline also has a main method, and better I clean up the unnecessary commented code. Commented code I don't want here because I am pretty sure uh, these are not going to be useful at this stage. If I need some function, I can add it later if required. Those things I know don't need actually. I am looking for this one specifically, and when I need this, uh, can I build it? Yeah, but there is two main function, so just CMD polyline. Suppose I give a function called CMD polyline, right? So this command, whenever CMD command polyline, whenever this function is called, all this thing will happen. Okay. Now just to understand this thing. Now whenever this loop is, if I give P, polyline command will start, it will just print polyline and it will end. But instead of that, what I want to call this function here. I want to call the function here and create the polyline. Whenever I give the command P, this polyline should be created, right? First of all. Now, obviously, this is not the best way, because once the object is created, is a local object, and whenever I go outside this function, the object is deleted. I mean, removed from the memory. So there is no purpose of actually creating the object, because after the command ends, the object is also no more in the memory. So we use the CAD software to design, I mean, make objects which are permanent at the session. But here we are not able to make a permanent object, or at least live object during the session. How to manage that? The how to manage the life cycle of the object, that is a different story. What I'm trying to do, I call this function whenever if I give P, but how I can call this? Because this is in a different CPP. This is in a different CPP file, and I'm doing that. So I cannot include CPP. So what I will do, I will actually uh, make a CPP. I will do a header file. I First of all, I let me rename it just directly to header. Best thing, rename it to header. Move it to the header section and create a CPP file separately. So uh, this is header polyline.cpp. So did I made something wrong? Yes, I did. I did a little bit hurry. It should be CPP, instead this should be header. Yeah, and I have to create a polyline.cpp here. Polyline.cpp. Now look at this. I want to, if I build it, obviously there will be error that I am going to solve it. But for now, this what can I do? This class to be needs to be in header, obviously. The what the definition, can I do something? The declaration will keep, I will keep the declaration here, but the definition I can keep it as CPP, and the declaration I can keep it here. I can keep the declaration here. The actual thing I will be doing here, And for the definition of this class polyline, I have to include polyline.h, has include polyline.h, and the same thing I have to do with entry point as well, I believe. Otherwise this function will not be available here, so I have to include this one. So if I do this, now this function will be called, let me do that. I am typing L, line is being printed, C, circle is printed. Whenever I give P, polyline object is created and being drawn, right? If I give line, again line, if I give C, circle, and if I give P, another polyline is being created and drawn, correct? You got it?
Yes, sir.
Now, at this stage, it is not taking the inputs. So can we take input here? To take the input, we can run another loop inside this command itself, because this command, this loop, this while loop is for taking the commands, and there will be loop to take the inputs, because I don't know how many points I'm going to take. Here also, as we are ending the command by pressing Q, here we can also say exit or end something, so that we can tell that we don't want anything more. So we can run a similar loop here. So instead of copy pasting, just write it manually. While you, if you want to keep the logic uh, same, you can either use the same logic, you can try the same logic. But the thing is, here I want to take two numbers, right? So here we are going to take two numbers. Mm, instead of C, we can say integer x. Oh my god, how can i how can I end the loop, right? Because if I take x and y, if I take x and y, right, uh, the, it's like I'm taking printf, enter or pick point, select point or pick point, whatever. Pick point is actually giving x and y values like that. So we have to give %d, %d. Now in fact, we should take a string in future and then parse it. Right now I am taking to a separate integer, but later we will learn how to take a string and convert it to parse it. String parsing we should be doing later, and this logic we cannot write. So what I will do, mm, we are pick a point x and y, and then we'll be creating the actual object here. We'll be creating the actual object with this x and y value. Now what will be the problem at this stage? Let me just check it. Probably it will never exit from the loop at this stage, and then we have to think how can we actually end the loop. Let me check. Oh my god, what is the problem? Int unexpected. Yeah, we don't need int twice. And another thing, we don't need these objects points to be pre-created. We want to take input and create actually. If I give p first, and instead polyline is printed, pick a point, I say give 10, 20. Another point, actually I should give a comma actually, but anyway, so that we can do it during string. That way we actually going to enter multiple points and the objects is being created. But the problem is how we can end it, right? If I give blank enters, so how we are going to end it? So how can we end it? Okay. Mm, just debug it. I'm giving p and then we are giving 10 20. I got the x and y value. I got x and y value added to the polyline object, 10 20, and then it is asking me again. Now if I just don't give anything and press blank enter, because that is the workflow in AutoCAD. If you don't want to continue the polyline, just give blank enter. If you give blank enter, but here blank enter, we are not able to actually exit from the loop with a blank enter, because if you give blank enter, it is not even coming out from the scanf. So what I will do, I just press Q and press enter. If I give press enter, it means x and y uh, are still 10 10, because it is returning the old values. Now how can we understand that I have given some wrong input, which is not two integers? If I don't give two integers correctly, it means we have given wrong input, right? So to treat that, I have to understand, I have to take a variable, say any variable, just to count how many inputs I have given correctly. Just based on that, we can take a logic. If I say P, it will asking for a, so if I give two numbers properly, the C is coming 2, it means I have entered two correct values. So if C is not 2, in that case we have entered wrongly. Let's check. If I give blank enter, and sometimes I press Q, C is coming 0. If C is 0, it means we have not entered properly, right? In that case, we can break. The loop is like that. If 0 equal to C, if C equal to 0, then just break the loop. It means it will stop, right? And once it is stopped, the polyline will be printed. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Say L for line, okay, C for circle, whatever you want to do. Then whenever you type P, polyline command has been started. You just give two numbers, whatever numbers you are giving, and then you just press enter, whatever, or simply type Q. And it is saying unknown command. That is a different thing. We can handle it in a different way. But we just right now we saw two loops are running. One loop is running for the command to take the commands. This command loop is taking the commands, which command you want to run. And once the command you entered in a command like polyline command, it takes the coordinates and then you ultimately create the polyline. That way, with different commands, you can create different kinds of polyline, right? We can optimize this code to make it more realistic or mimic exactly like AutoCAD. Instead of taking two integers, we should take string here. Can we take string? Let me check it. Uh, can we uh, can we do getters? Can we do getters and take a string? And that way we have to do parsing actually. So I don't want to change this code right now, but in future I want to change this code so that we can take a uh, if I run it, and if I give a string like, say, and instead of P I should be able to give polyline command directly, and 10 comma 20, if I give 10 comma 20, it is coming, but at this stage the count is 1, x is 10, y is garbage, right? So if I give a string like 10 comma 20, the data is not parsed properly. So what we can do, I don't want to change it correctly, but let me try that. Instead of that, can I take a character pointer, say data, uh, and for uh, I don't remember actually, for string, how can I take input actually? Ankon, do you remember?
String gate is, I guess.
Get as we can do, just I'm trying that. Is it possible for me? I have to just take, is the data is coming correctly or not?
Hmm.
If the data is coming, I can parse it actually. So I just gave 10, I can give a space between whatever the way I want. 20, if I give, it is giving crash. So how to take input? How to take input of a, how to scan, how to input string in C language, not C++, because in C++ it will be C in actually.
Hmm.
How to take input in C? How to take input string in C? Okay. Uh, they're taking something like that, but okay. So instead of array, we have to give a actually array with a bigger size.
Character.
Yeah. So instead of this, I can take a array, and probably in that case say 250, a bigger size I have given. And if I do that, and then bring getters, they are doing
Get it.
getters. So instead of that, getters, getters,
And
what
just
have to include what?
after just array, not percentage.
Okay, yeah. And we don't want to give the person this also,
Hmm.
right? Getters will not return anything probably.
No.
Getters data undefined. Yeah, maybe this header file needs to be included.
Other else string dot h, I guess. Mm-hmm. Get is not found.
C++ में जा रहा है. That's why actually with string handling, it's getters.
Instead of this, I guess Visual Studio have different configuration.
Mhm. This thing can I
This
do?
one, this one, this one, this one.
This one, huh?
Scan it.
And this will be the data actually. I will put the logic later. Let me try that, okay? And let me put some. Acha, this one I would finally add it anyway. Oh my god. For now, simplicity, I just give hard coded values. I will check the logic later. What's the problem? Scanf underscore s.
And understood, yes.
One loop is for polyline. Okay, inside the polyline, immediately is coming directly jumping here.
Hmm.
It's not waiting. So better we can use scene of C lang C++. String std string std string. What happened? Oh, string dot h, not dot h, only string. String say data. data string, and instead of all this stuff, just say C in data.
Data.
And for the scene,
IS stream, I
yeah,
guess.
that's it. So if I have this data with me, or differs from the level of indirection, uh, yeah, okay.
Oh, well.
So if I say P for polyline and then I give 10 comma 20, the data will be coming here like 10 comma 20. This is a string. Now
Yes.
I have to extract this data from there. I have to extract 10 and 20 separately, then we can pass it here, right? So
Yes.
that falls under the string handling part.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case we don't need all this stuff. We can simply, so string, if we know string handling, we can do it better.
Mm.
Now you can write a function something like what can I say, uh, say pull uh, extract point point data, or extract xy, whatever, extract xy, the name you can give whatever. So you will finally send, you will be sending a string, you will be sending a raw string, and suppose you want to extract x and y both by
Mm.
reference.
Reference, obviously.
So that way, after taking this input, what I will do,
Call this function.
integer x comma y, and
Mm.
then pass this data
Pass the data and x and y reference.
x and y.
Mm.
Ref I don't have to write it, by default it
Mm.
will,
By default, it take this.
and x and y. So if I can do that, the xy must return a value, obviously say return true in case of it is successful, otherwise false. Now the
Yeah.
question is, how can I extract that data? So this becomes the parsing logic.
Mm.
So today we are not dealing with string handling, but actual string handling has to be done here, right? Hmm.
Mm.
If we can do that, let me try to do that. And suppose we have not parsed anything, in that case what will happen? It will come by default 0 0 or what? I have given 10 20, but when it came, all are garbage because we have not set anything.
There's
It
a,
becomes
and it is return true.
return true, and that's why. So we have not parsed it properly. So we need to make it a proper parsing so that we can extract the x and y properly. The x and
Mm.
y can be in a different format. Maybe the actually it is not in xy format. It is, maybe there is no two inputs, two integers. Maybe any random. For example, if you run it, for example, if you run it, under polyline. Suppose under polyline you have given something like that. Now what is happening? It is, so if you give 10 20, it's okay, but you can give uh, something 3 points. What? So there may be different scenarios that you have to handle, right? So instead of
Mm.
comma you have given, suppose some different thing. Okay, instead of comma you have given semicolon. What will happen actually? So you have to handle all these things. So delimiter, you have to use delimiter, comma means using which you have the this means what, split the whole string in different parts, right?
Mm.
So those things, Ankan, if you want, you can implement this function for me, and then we can plug here, okay?
Okay.
But this is a separate topic. So I am stopping this video. We just learned how to mimic a small CAD software, just it on the console version. There is a one loop running which is taking several commands as a several uh, command as input, and then it is calling corresponding function. Similarly, we have created a polyline dot header and polyline dot cpp, where we are handling the polyline command and creating the polyline object, right? Similarly, for each kind of line circle, we can create separate header file and cpp file, right?
Mm.
That way the
Obviously.
whole CAD software works. Now the question is, this polyline, this object is created on the stack. It means it is a local object.
Mm.
So this local object is destroyed once we come out of this loop, right?
Yes.
It means every object we create, it is being terminated whenever it comes out of its own function. It means we cannot actually ultimately uh, make multiple objects remaining at the stack level, right? Or in the memory. So what we can do, the best thing is this polyline function, instead of returning void, it should return a polyline object itself.
Polynomial object. Yes.
If it returns something, then, and we should not draw it here. The purpose of drawing is not here. Drawing will be done
In main function.
in future, a separate thing. So my
Yes. Yes.
purpose is to return the object itself. Whatever object
Mm-hmm.
we create, we should return it.
Return to polyline.
Return the polyline. But the problem is, what is doing? Cannot overload. Okay, right. In its header file, something different. I have to change it here as well. Okay. Now the problem is, again, this is also a local object.
Mm.
So when you are returning it, after that, when it is coming here, for example, you are taking the polyline object, you are
Then
taking the,
also need to store these.
if you take the polyline, say PL object here, if you store it here, that object is already dead because it is a local object. When you returned it, it is already dead, and you are
Mm.
collecting a dead object here,
Mm.
right?
Need constructor.
Now just let me try that. Instead of printing it from here, if I try to print it from here, what will happen? Will it draw properly or not? Okay, let me try that.
Mm.
Okay, what is happening? uh, yeah, I have to give a semicolon. PL, what happened? Skip by default level. Okay, PL object cannot be declared here, it is telling. So what I will do, I'll declare it. For now I will declare it outside the loop for now,
Mm.
and just print it. And I think the program is running, that's why it's in lock state. Let me stop the video. Okay. This thing also I don't need. We run this for polyline. I have created, suppose uh, oh my god, at this stage my polyline parsing is not done, na? If the
Mm.
parsing is not done, it will not store the proper data. So if it
Mm.
is not going to store proper data, how can I do that? Hmm. So do one thing, hard coded values, I let me set it inside that,
Yes.
so that at least I have some data. Whatever you give, ultimately it will be 1020. It will be
Mm.
adding there. Hmm, adding there. The question is, how will you break the loop? How will you break the loop in this case, right?
Mm.
So the breaking condition will be, for example, if I just give blank enter, blank enter is not taking. So if I give say q, for example, and the data is q, so I have to check whether data is q. I have to end this loop anyway. So I have to write a logic actually here. How can I stop the loop? So what logic I can take? Say if string data dot cstr, cstr will give me the raw character pointer, and its first character equal to q, for example. If the first character is q, for some reason, just break, right?
Mm.
Let me try that. This is not the best way to break it, but for now it's okay.
Temporary purpose.
Temporary purpose. So first thing, whatever you give, it's okay. uh,
You get the blank, then it's break.
yeah. So next you give anything else, but if you give something with q starting, it will break
Mm.
actually immediately.
Break, break.
It does not bother you give q or something with q, but it
It's just
breaks.
for the queue.
Yeah, it remains out of that loop. And finally, if you see, do we have the data? We have the data.
Then,
We have the data, and it will probably print as well. There is no problem with the printing.
mm,
Printing was also has been done. Only the
mm,
thing is, uh, it is not good to actually return a object like that. What is happening, you are actually copying the object in a, so this object and this object is different. If you actually take a pointer of this, the address of this object and the address of this object will be different, because they are two different objects. When you are returning, it is being copied here actually. It is not the same object. So how can I prove that? The best way to prove that is, say, mm, print printf uh, percentage p. And to print the pointer, and to print the pointer uh, of the this polyline object, right? And to check what will be the pointer of this pointer, I means address of this. And also I want to check the address of this pl object, right? Theoretically it should be different, because if it is copied, obviously the object is different, it means the address will be different, right? Let me check it. With p, the address, is the address different or same? It's seems same address. It seems the object is same. No, different, right? It is 628, it is 548. So different object, right?
different object.
But it means if this may not be the good way. First of all, if the object is huge, it is a duplicate copy, it's a wastage of thing. So the best thing is we should make it a pointer, and we will be returning a pointer itself. Okay,
Mm.
we'll be returning a pointer, and it will be a kind of this thing. And returning pointer, what is the problem? Okay,
Dot H,
dot
change
h
the
I have to change. And anything, yeah. So also I have to actually initialize the object, so I have to make this polyline, otherwise it will be an,
new point.
yeah. So doing this and this will give me error, because this is returning a pointer and I have to store it in a
Mm.
pointer,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Draw must be okay, this way. So that way we can actually create the polyline object and get it. But now there will be multiple objects, not a single polyline, there will be multiple objects, right? There will be multiple line, polyline, all, everything will coming out of this polyline giving me a polyline pointer, and this will give me a circle pointer, this will give me ellipse pointer, all this, right? So I have to keep all of them in somewhere. So what is this somewhere? The thing is, I can make a, say, list of say, let me keep only polyline, say polylines. I'm keeping only polylines. Now for that, I have to make I have to include the header file list, which is a actually a STL linked list. Now list this one, yeah. So this is a polyline. So instead of just immediately drawing it, this is not required at this stage. We just, this is the for testing purpose we did. Whatever polyline is coming will be actually polylines dot add or push. This is called push method, push back or push. So we have to add this polyline here, right? And instead of doing that, what we'll do, we don't need this, and we don't need this. Whatever is coming out of that, immediately store in the polylines, right? Now, if PL is not there, we cannot draw, right? So do one thing. For drawing, we make another call for drawing. For D, we'll be drawing. Okay. So, for example, whenever we give D, all the things that we have created, line, circle, all will be drawn at a time, right? So let me make a draw function. So there will be draw function. There will be a void draw function that will be called, right? But what will be drawn? Because these polylines need to be drawn, right? Are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
So if this needs to be drawn, for example, I want to iterate through this list. I want to iterate through the list. How to iterate through a std list? Uh, std list. Oh my God, where I'm typing list iterator in C++. In C++, list iteration. You want to make it very simple. You want to make. I know we have not learned C++ well, but I'm just giving an idea what we can, what can be done. Now this polyline. Suppose I want to make this polyline be doing something. What? How can I do that? The problem is, first of all, this list is not, this polyline is in the scope of this command loop. It is not available. So what I can do, temporary purpose, I can make it global for now. But it is not a good, but for now I make it a global. And what I'll do, and suppose this is a PL, it is a single polyline, for example. This is a single polyline, okay? I want to say pointer PL, and whatever is this, I want to I want to call a draw method on the polyline. And the question is, uh, do polyline also have draw method? This draw is a global function which draws all the objects, and this draw method is a polyline specific draw. So in this case, I think everything is working correctly. Let me try that. Oh my God. Let me try that. Yeah. So just line, circle, those are not implemented. I can give you this piece of code to you. You can implement the other commands if you want. Okay. Now P for polyline. Pick a point. I gave 10, 20, whatever. But basically, it is not giving proper inputs. That parsing is also remaining. But just Q for quit and say L for line and C for circular drawing. But it is still not drawn, right? But as soon as I give the command D, all the polylines that I have created has been drawn, right? So we have learned how to run a command loop. Inside command loop, how to take inputs for a particular command and store the object. And once the object is stored, how to draw all of them. You got the whole idea. You got a bigger picture. Probably you have to introduce some new concepts like a list iteration, pointers, and few stuffs. But you know, when you are dealing with those, because you are going to implement some big stuff, then those things naturally comes, right? So when we learn topic by topic. Each chapter has a different topic, but everything is related. When you are going to develop a project, several topics come together to play a role. Now you understand how every piece is connected. Anyway, I think that is enough for today. In the next class, obviously, we will be starting with the circular linked list. But this is a good idea how to represent a polyline data using a linked list, right? Ultimately, this polyline is nothing but ultimately our old good polyline linked list, right?
Yes, sir.
So I am sure that you guys have enjoyed. So what's your feedback?
8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. And others? What's feedback from other guys? 1.5 out of 10.
স্যার সি প্লাস প্লাসের তো ঠিক মতো জানা নেই তো,
But
মানে সিতে
anyway,
যখন আসলেন তখন বুঝতে
you got the
পারছিলাম।
idea. Overall flow, you got the idea, right?
ইয়েস স্যার, ইয়েস স্যার।
How a command loop is running and how a so there is a one loop that is taking the commands. What commands we are taking? Line, circle, or whatever. Now, if we are you now user has chosen that he wants to create a polyline. Now it is your choice. I mean, it's the turn of the command itself. So actually, what happens now? There are several commands, several types of objects to be implemented in a CAD software, right? Suppose I am owning the company, and suppose I am the senior developer. I'll be dealing with the main thing like these stuffs, like running the main engine and command loop, all this stuff. And suppose the task I have given, so polyline object, creation of the polyline object using linked list I have given to Onkan. And this all the other objects I have, suppose for Saurabh I have given this line, for Ronak I have given circle. That way I can give separate commands to implement you guys, right? So can we do something like that? So I will give this CAD 2D project to you, okay, in the group.
Okay.
Now, polyline, whatever is remaining, like parsing of this string, like this one, that Ankon has to complete it, okay?
Okay.
And this thing, like uh, implementing the implementing the line command, circle, ellipse, and arc. You like the other guys, like I mean Ronak, Saurabh, and Rahul. You can take it at least line. Let me tell you who will take which one. So Saurabh, you have to implement the circle, okay?
Hello, sir.
Rahul, you have to implement the line,
Okay, sir.
and Ronak, you should be trying the ellipse and arc, or any one of these at least.
Okay, sir.
Now this is a problem. It should be draw something like that. Anyway, so that way we will learn how to work in a team, right? So
Yes, sir.
what you guys will give to me? So suppose Rahul will give me a line dot h and line dot cpp. That's it, right?
ওকে স্যার।
For example, what changes we should make? For example, we have polylines. So similarly, we'll have those things. Later we'll see how can we make them more uh, line. Those classes are not implemented. That's why it is giving error, right? So those corresponding classes you guys have to implement. ELLIPSE, ellipse. Those things we have to implement, and accordingly we have to store the data, and we will be running the loop here, so that so this thing will be implemented. So I will be taking care of this entry point.cpp. So for example, uh, for the line or the circle, what we will do, we will make a cmd circle command, a function, and it will be circles, right? It will be circles. So it will be lines, circles, arcs, ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. So that way different kinds of objects we can store. So circle will return a circle pointer, and which we can ultimately store in circles, right? The workflow will remain same. So if you can implement those codes, it means you have to understand the polyline thing first, and accordingly you have to understand. So when you join a company, suppose in the company there is existing code like polyline code is already existing. So first you have to understand how the existing code is working. You have to debug it and understand. And then suppose they will give a task like that. So this person will need to implement the line class and the line command. This guy will be implementing the circle class and circle command, something like that. So once everybody completes that job, the whole software is ready. Getting my point?
Yes, yes.
So I will be giving this CAD 2D project after cleaning it in the as a zip, and you guys has to implement it. So clear? Circle has to be implemented by Saurabh. Line is by which Rahul probably,
Yes, sir.
and
Ah,
Ronak will be implementing either ellipse or arc or anything, right?
Okay, sir.
And Ankan, you will be completing the polyline parsing, right? Or
Okay,
in
got it.
fact, actually extract xy is a common function
Hmm.
because it can be used in circle, is it can be used in anywhere, right?
Hmm.
So it's better we can make a utility, for example, say normal header file, utility or generic utility. So in the utility, this function will be used. So and then it needs the string as well. So I am giving you these things ready. String, std string probably. Uh, yeah. So if this utility.h, Ankan, you have to implement, okay?
Okay, sir.
So that it will be for example, for circle, somebody is taking input for circle, and he can also use the same function to parse the data. Line, circle, arc, anywhere it can be used. Okay. So what is the problem here? So those classes are not implemented, so you have to guys implement, only then it will be working. So this you have to uncomment actually to compile the code. Okay. And there is one error. Okay, this is running, still running. What happened? The polyline. What happened? What happened? Some linking error. Ah, this XY is not available. For that, we have to include the utility.h. Right?
Utility is not included.
So once you include the utility.h, you will get this function. And similarly, for every line dot header, line dot cpp, line dot cpp, circle dot cpp, you can just include the include.h, utility.h, and you will get this function, and you can utilize it in your own code. So that's done. I will clean it up and send it to group. So in our next class, the next class is our on when 28th,
next
right?
Monday.
So enough time you have to implement those, right?
Yes.
Ankon, you please don't help much of them. Try to implement your own thing, and at least give them 2 days to work with uh, by themselves. And still, if they cannot do, only then help them on Sunday or Monday. But at least they should try Friday and Saturday at their own.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.